I'm going to call this meeting to order. This Planning Zoning Commission special meeting Wednesday, November 19, 2025. Roll call, please.
Zamora.
Here.
Harmon. Boutros.
Here.
Geyer. Here. Larson. Vance.
Here.
Whitbeck.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum, so we'll move on with the agenda. Conflict of interest declaration. Any conflict of interest for any of the commissioners?
No.
None. Seeing none, moving on. No special presentation or consent calendar. So the review of proceedings. So this is a scheduled meeting for the Planning and Zoning Commission. We serve both in a decision-making capacity and advisory capacity to the mayor and city council. There are two types of public hearings that this commission conducts. The first is a legislative hearing whereby we formulate recommendations on certain land use requests. Our recommendations are then forwarded onward to the city council, who makes a decision on legislative matters. The second is quasi-judicial hearing, which involves a consideration of a land use request, such as annexation, rezone, classification, or approval of subdivision preliminary plat. The public hearing procedures as required by Idaho law are as follows. Oral and written testimony will be accepted from those who signed up to speak prior to the hearing be declared open. When providing testimony, please come to the podium and state your name and addresses, which will be included into the record. Staff will then present a report regarding the application being considered. This is followed by public testimony. Applicant or applicant's representative will present a summary of the request for no more than 10 minutes. Testimony will be of those in support will be taken, followed by those in neutral position, finally those in opposition for no more than 5 minutes. The applicant will then be offered an opportunity to provide a rebuttal testimony. After the rebuttal testimony is given, the public testimony portion of the public hearing will be closed and no new oral written testimony will be allowed. All right, so with that, moving on, there's no old business, so we have one new business item. So we're in section 8 of our agenda. This is Caldwell Center Urban Renewal Project Area Plan. This is for us as a commission to review urban renewal plan for conformity with the comprehensive plan of the city of Caldwell and make recommendation to the city council concerning the proposed plan. And with that, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Commissioner. My name is Douglas Waterman. I'm one of the attorneys for the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency. Make sure you can hear me. And I apologize, I'm a little under the weather. I'm a little stuffy. So if you have a hard time hearing me, ask me to repeat things, I'll do that. So the Caldwell Urban Renewal Agency and the City of Caldwell are in the process of looking at a new urban renewal plan, the Central Urban Renewal Plan, for the area that you see there on your screen or on this screen here. And that plan has objectives and has gone through a process whereby the area was reviewed to see if it was eligible for urban renewal activity, whether or not urban renewal activity in that area could generate revenue, what kind of projects were necessary in that area, whether the revenue generated would be sufficient to cover the proposed projects. And so that packet has gone to council now. Council looked at it, they wanted some more time, and it went back to the agency, which approved it as well. And so now it's going to be pending a hearing in front of the city council where the council will get to ultimately decide if the plan moves forward and is finalized, and the public will have a chance to come and testify at that hearing about that. This particular component of the process is set out in the Idaho Code. It says when a local governing body proposes an urban renewal plan, it needs to send it to the Planning and Zoning Commission of that agency for review with the conformity for conformity with the general plan of the municipality as a whole. It doesn't say explicitly the comprehensive plan, but that's what it's been interpreted to mean. The urban renewal law, I believe, predated LUPA, from whence we get comprehensive plans by a number of years. But that is what we're here to do tonight, is to review the proposed plan alongside the comprehensive plan to see if it conforms to that plan or doesn't conform to that plan. And then at the end of tonight, you'll either make a recommendation to the city council that it does conform or it does not conform or somewhere in between. So what I've put together in the packet is I've gone through the plan and the comprehensive plan and attempted to articulate things that I think are true for each plan goal, each comprehensive plan goal, and whether or not the proposed plan will support those goals, have no impact on those goals. And tonight, in terms of the flow of things, what I propose is that we work through goal by goal, talk about the comprehensive plan goal itself, and then that's your opportunity to provide commentary on whether or not you think the plan conforms to that goal, supports the goal, harms the goal, as the case may be. Then as we work through it, we'll get to the end, and we'll have put together comments on each plan goal, and then you will vote in a more general sense to either say, yes, the plan conforms to the municipality as a whole, but we want to see these things in the plan, or no, we don't think the plan conforms to the general plan of the municipality as a whole. So that's the flow of things. I think that makes sense from a procedural standpoint. There are, as with all comprehensive plans, it's a long document. It's got a lot of goals and a lot of sub-goals. So I'll try to move quickly. If you have any questions along the way, please feel free to step in and ask them. I'll do my best to answer them. I appreciate Mr. McDonald is here as well. And he is the sort of resident guru on the project list and what those projects are for and will accomplish and that kind of thing. So I may punt to him on those, but that's how I see the rest of this presentation going. Do we have any questions at this point about the process? No? Okay,
Nope,
great.
Go ahead.
Okay. So starting with plan goal, the general comprehensive plan goal of a vision for a connected community, sub-goal 1. That goal is to provide for efficient and cost-effective movement of people and goods. It includes things like ensuring that new development pays for itself, connecting residential development with existing streets, require future connections, and constructing overpasses and railroad crossings whenever feasible, things like that. And so it appears to me that the central plan aligns with this goal, as it's generally an infrastructure plan. For the most part, that's what it does. It does not building a library or a new police station. It's an infrastructure-focused plan. And so it of course relies upon the existing infrastructure requirements of the city of Caldwell, as any development in the city of Caldwell would. And so the plan provides for reimbursement agreements to incentivize developers to do projects in the area and upfront do improvements to the infrastructure with whatever component of those improvements are public improvements, being potentially reimbursable through tax increment financing agreements out of the tax proceeds from those same developers. But the consequence of the plan, it will be a general improvement on transportation infrastructure in the plan area. Are there any concerns with that analysis or modifications that the commission would like to articulate?
Commissioners. Commissioner Boutros.
As a general practice, the chairman has asked us to withhold comments until testimony is completed. So you're not likely to get much from us until you're done.
Well, go ahead.
Since there's so many goals
Yeah.
here that we're discussing, it'd probably be best if we take it step by step, in my estimation, that way that we're clear before we go to the next one. Would that be allowable, Mr. Waterman?
There's a question for your chair. The format of this would not lend itself well to all comments at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I thank you. Thank you for drawing that distinction out, and I agree. We can go ahead and address it item by item, so that we're not 200 pages in and trying to go back to page 4. So yes, this would be an appropriate time
Okay,
if commissioners have comments on
If we're going to
subsection
do that, I want to bring the text of each goal and the analysis up on the screen if we're going to go through these one at a time. I have reviewed all of them. I have extracted a couple of examples. You're not going to be able to get through your entire presentation if you and I are having a discussion about each one of these. So you may want to rethink the idea of give and take on each one. My comments can be taken in the whole of all of these goals.
So then you, Commissioner Boutros, then you're welcome if you would like to wait till the end and provide your commentary at the end, and so we can provide it in the whole. And commissioners, if you have specific comments on individual sections, please.
That's fine.
And also Commissioner Boutros, if there's something specific in one section that you do want to call out uniquely, by all means.
I don't want to be here till midnight.
Okay. So commissioners, anything for this section? That was just reviewed.
No.
No.
Thank you. All right, go ahead, Mr. Waterman.
Okay, moving on to Vision for Connecting Community Sub-Goal 2, which is to protect the function of arterial corridors. Again, the plan is generally a infrastructure plan, transportation infrastructure plan, and relies on existing street planning that Caldwell has already undertaken. The agency doesn't have the authority and wouldn't be in a good position to necessarily prescribe specific street alignments or sidewalk improvements, things like that. So the plan relies on existing city code and policy, but will generally, as a result of the improvement to the infrastructure system in the area, relying on those goals, serve that plan policy. Any questions on that one? Yeah.
I do have a question on that.
Commissioner Vance.
Chair, so my question on that, you say relying on existing infrastructure plans that are already in the city currently. Those aren't necessarily included in this plan as part of this overall urban renewal. You're relying on those plans that are already there, right?
Correct.
But, and I was hoping that engineering was here. Are you with engineering? So what type of plans do we have? Because I'm looking at the roadmap right now on page 122 right now. You know, obviously I've driven this area, this neighborhoods. There was a lot in here about sidewalks, new roadways and stuff like that. What kind of plans, just general, do we have for some of these roads in these areas?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, I'd be happy to address that. So the road plans that we have are for the major roads that are within the area proposed. And the road plans, they're very general. At this point, we have not walked every single road. We have not done an audit on the infrastructure and the deficiencies and all that, but we've looked at them generally. And so every road includes a road resurfacing, repair of curb gutter and sidewalk portions, filling in sidewalk where portions are missing. Each of these major roads also includes a major irrigation line that could be used for pressure irrigation in the future, and then lighting. Those are just some of the general things that we've anticipated. Now, we're not going to know for sure what the exact costs are going to be until we get further down the road where we are actually doing a design for each of these roads, and then we will be able to determine what's needed for sure and what's not needed. But those are just some of the general things that we've been looking at.
Will those costs be also, will that go in tandem with with engineering's budget as well as urban renewals, or is it all going to come out of this urban renewal plan?
Yeah, so the cost is all included as part of the plan for urban renewal.
Okay.
In the urban renewal budget. That doesn't mean that at some point in the future, the city could opt to participate if city council so desired to also put money into it. But everything is included in this plan for the urban renewal currently.
So follow up for Rob.
Sorry.
Yeah, so just in addition to what Rob was stating is the city, you're probably aware, has hired the consultant to do a master plan for downtown, which also includes this area. And I know that as part of that master plan, they'll also be coming up with some concept ideas for sidewalks and
Yeah,
what
that's what
those
I'm
could look like. So I think that's also, once we get further down the road with that master plan, we'll have a better idea on those costs.
Gotcha.
So my follow-up question real quick was, so at this moment, there's no plan outside of the urban renewal to develop those streets or gutters or any of that,
There's a general base plan, I think, that they want to, but they, you know, for the general parts of it, the
yeah,
curb
like
gutter stuff.
financing, or there's
Yeah.
it's not being budgeted at the moment?
Not totally. So there is budget. For example, we have budget in the city budget this year of $50,000 to improve lighting in this same area.
Okay.
And that was something that came up that the council wanted us to pursue more quickly than waiting for an urban renewal plan that may or may not come to fruition. So there are little things like that, but there's no significant plans. There may be a couple other little things, but there's no significant plans to go in and rehab this entire area. The city simply doesn't have the funding to do that.
On the roadway specific, but you were saying they've hired an outside consultant for that right now, right?
Right, to do the master plan so that we know what we're looking at as far as the vision for that area. And then there potentially could be some community development block grant funds that could help with things like sidewalks and ADA ramps and some lighting in that area as well that could tag team with urban renewal funds.
Thank you. Other commissioners, Commissioner Guyer?
So just to clarify, Rob, so when you're saying the street department, for instance, would have a general budget, that's citywide. It's not necessarily for this area. It's more street department budgeting for citywide projects, improvements, and different projects that's on a larger scale beyond this area. Am I correct in that?
Correct. Chairman, Commissioner Guyer, welcome.
Thank you.
I was going to say Madam Guyer, but that is correct. The city street department does have a budget for road projects in general, but those are generally focused on safety locations. We have a lot of intersections in the city that need immediate attention, and so it's hard to take those funds that would go to a safety project and put it up to beautification in the north area. So the funds are very limited, yes.
Just to follow up on that, so on the analysis, it talks about gateway corridors. What one are we talking about? Are we talking 10th Avenue as a gateway? Is 5th also considered a gateway at this point with this project? Or can you explain the gateways?
Yeah, Commissioner, Chairperson. If I'm not mistaken, the gateways are defined in city code, and 10th Avenue would definitely be a gateway. Centennial would be a gateway into the city. I don't think Fifth Avenue is considered a gateway. Chicago would not be considered a gateway, but those are still significant roads that are not local roads. They are collectors or arterials that definitely need attention because they get a decent amount of traffic.
That's what I wanted to get to. Thank you very much.
But to follow up on that, based on this urban renewal plan, that Fifth and Chicago are the first priorities of roads that would be under this development. Is that correct? I might be
So-
jumping ahead a little bit. I apologize.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, Commissioners, and Rob would be probably better at answering all of the factors that went into the prioritization and what the needs were that were known. Before we move on though, real quickly, I do want to articulate, there's a difference between the city having a plan to self-perform roadway improvements and the city having standards that apply to third-party improvements of roadway improvements. So for example, if I were to buy a piece of property in this area, there's going to be classifications of the roadway that are set forth either in city code or in engineering policy, public works policy, that are going to control where I can put my accesses, that we're going to control the type of sidewalk I can install, landscaping, things like that. So the references to reliance on existing city policy is not saying that the projects will be done by the city. It's saying that as to things like protecting roadway classifications by ensuring there's appropriate spacing or protecting beautification by ensuring there's appropriate landscaping, that the plan itself does not impose a new scheme for those things. It simply relies on the existing city code. And the city code can obviously be changed, but it relies on city code for that. So, sorry, Rob, I cut you off, but. The question was about the prioritization and what how the priorities for 1, 2, and 3, sort of the general idea on those.
So, yeah, thank you, Mr. Waterman. To some extent, the priorities were determined by ArchNexus, who's been looking at this area and studying it fairly closely. But we mutually agree that Fifth Avenue and Chicago are definitely the priority corridors where you have traffic that's not just local traffic, but it's traveling through the site from Centennial to 10th or from the north all the way down to the south, and you have a railroad crossing, and so those are definitely higher priority than, like, say, Elgin or some of those other streets that are kind of off the grid a little.
And so because of that, when you guys start going for more detailed plans on the roadways, those are probably going to be put into priority first, of course.
Sure, and just to be clear, the priority is established in the plan. However, it is ultimately up to the Urban Renewal Commission to decide what priority they want to do the projects. If something changes in the future and they determine that there's a different project that really is a priority, there's nothing that prohibits them from taking that project and making it a higher priority and getting that project done. And so it all depends on how the city grows out and what the urban renewal determines are the priorities as they would be funding some of these projects.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Waterman.
So sticking with the first plan category of Vision for Connected Community, moving on to sub-goal 3, develop commercial and mixed-use corridors that create a strong sense of place and support all modes of transportation. The analysis on this is similar to the ones before it, where the central plan aligns with the comprehensive plan, conforms to it to the extent that it relies on existing city requirements for roadway improvements, classifications, roadway protection, things like that, is an infrastructure plan and will generally improve those corridors, those gateway corridors, and other mixed-use areas that are close to downtown in that whole swath. Any questions about that particular plan objective? Okay. Plan goal vision for connected community, sub-goal 4, ensure safe, comfortable, and accessible pathways for pedestrians, cyclists, and other non-motorized users. There are, again, it's relying on the city existing obligations in terms of roadway improvements, which have been set to ensure that vehicles and pedestrians and bicycles and things like that move safely. But as revenue is generated by the area and the projects are completed, it will generally result in the improvement of public transportation options. I know there's improvements to a bike path. I can't recall the exact location of that, but certainly sidewalks and things like that, improvements to those will help serve this plan objective. Any questions on that one? Okay. For primary plan goal, vision for connected community, sub-goal number 5, encouraging the use of and expansion of alternative transportation and public transit options. Again, the plan itself doesn't have its own scheme for improving or creating transportation opportunities or bus stops or things like that, or sidewalks, but it relies on the fact that as development comes in and increment is generated, there will be general transportation improvements in the area as a whole, which will, again, align with the city's existing transportation plan and serve that goal generally. Any questions on that one? Okay. Plan goal vision for connected community, sub-goal number 6. Prioritizing public safety and transportation infrastructure and design. Again, as the roadways are improved, sidewalks are improved, they'll become more passable for pedestrians and vehicles, and it relies on the city's existing transportation planning to make sure that those improvements are safe and sane. Any questions on that one? And again, as I said at the outset, I've made an attempt to provide an analysis, but the analysis ultimately is done by this body. So if you think there's something that's deficient or something additional or something that the plan could be improved upon, this is your recommendation. And so it doesn't need to be, it can be a significant or insignificant thing. If you have input, it would certainly be welcome. Plan goal vision for connected community number 7. Adapting to advances in emerging mobility, technology, and transportation innovations. I couldn't think of a way in which the plan had any direct impact for good or ill on this. But if someone has an idea of a way that it helps or harms this objective, I'd be happy to hear it. Any questions on this one? Plan goal, vision for connected community, sub-goal 8, optimize the public investment in utility services and facilities. Generally speaking, again, it's a infrastructure plan. So the agency and the plan aren't going to provide specific guidance on how to co-locate cell tower facilities. It's not a role they would play, but as the infrastructure in that area is upgraded and improved, the existing city process for encouraging those things will be at play. And the plan will be generally in aid of that purpose. Any questions on that one?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question on that one. I have a question for staff, actually.
Okay.
Rob, we know in this area, there has been a problem in the past few years in regards to irrigation. So what does that involve with new development in that area? Would there be, you kind of alluded to that there's a possibility of pressurized irrigation through Colum Municipal? Is that something that's kind of being looked at this point?
Yeah, so this area is a little bit difficult because it straddles different districts. Part of it's in Golden Gate, part of it is in,
Canyon Hill one?
yeah, I can't remember, yeah. So it's kind of a difficult area, but the intent is that when we improve these major roads, we would be putting main lines in all of these roadways so that in the future, with a few pump stations coming online at strategic locations, you could serve a very large area in this downtown and be able to start serving those property owners. And so putting pressure irrigation into an area, an old area that doesn't have pressure irrigation is very costly and difficult to do, but this really would be the best time to do it is when we're replacing those roads or resurfacing those roads. So that would be our first stab at it. There may have to be more coordination on that in the future and certainly other logistics, but that's what we would be proposing to do.
Well, I happen to know that there's business owners right now that have paid in assessments for years and never been able to redeem any of the use of irrigation. So that would be a benefit to many in this central area from the way that I understand it. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, if you're referring to Golden Gate Irrigation District,
Well, even lateral,
Caldwell
Caldwell
Lateral,
lateral.
yep.
There's some to the downtown that we're having to use potable water because there was never any irrigation
Yeah.
available to those sites.
Unfortunately, there are areas that are in those circumstances. Golden Gate, I know, is planning to make some significant improvements this winter so that they should be able to serve just about all of their patrons
Good.
next year, which is a big improvement. Canyon, or Caldwell Lateral, I'm not exactly sure the state of their system currently.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for that. Plan goal, vision for connected community. I made a note of that, and so if this item comes for a motion, I'll remind the commission of that sort of issue, and then if there's a desire to recommend that the city consider adding irrigation improvements to the project list, that could be something that the agency or the commission could do. Vision for Connected Community Plan Goal number 9, collaborate with Caldwell and Valley View School Districts and College of Idaho as partners in long-range planning. Again, I couldn't think of a direct impact on that comprehensive plan goal from this urban renewal plan, but if anyone has a thought on that, I'd be happy to hear what that would be, so. Okay. So the next general comprehensive plan goal is vibrant gathering places. The first sub-goal is to create a network of dynamic places for the community to gather throughout the city. Activating subcategory of that is activating key gateways with public spaces, pedestrian amenities, signage or public art, things like that. Again, the plan is primarily an infrastructure plan. There are park improvements, and there are improvements that help connect this area to sort of the central downtown area more proper, the central downtown area proper. And so to the extent that those things are included in the project list, the plan aligns with that comprehensive goal. Okay. Protect and enhance historical resources that represent the city's culture and architectural history. I couldn't think of a way in which the plan served that specifically. As is always the case, all these things are happening over the background noise of the city's existing Arts and Historic Preservation Commission and Planning and Zoning Commission and city codes and things like that. And so if you have an area that has historic housing and there's development that occurs there, it's, you know, a non-zero likelihood that one of those will be improved, and if it gets improved, it will have to be in conformity with the codes that are applicable to it. But I couldn't think of a direct connection. Subsection 3 of Vibrant Gathering Spaces is reinforcing Caldwell's local culture and identity. I felt like the plan helps serve that objective by, again, doing park improvements and infrastructure improvements, helping connect Caldwell to the downtown that the city has expended so much effort revitalizing, and it's not become such a big part of Caldwell's identity. And so I felt like the plan served that goal in that way. Goal 4, create vibrant places through quality urban design. Again, there will be improvements as a result of the plan. There'll be economic activity, and that activity will be obliged to conform with the rules that apply to development in the city generally. And so, I know the city's new comprehensive plan is more focused on mixed use and being creative with spaces, and as development occurs in that area in this new world with a new comprehensive plan and under existing city codes, I believe that goal will be served as well.
Commissioner
Question on
Vance?
that.
Yeah.
On concentrating development closer to the city core and everything like that, is anywhere in this plan any kind of parking? Because I know that's a chief concern of a lot of people. And as we expand these areas and everything, there's more people coming into it. Is there any kind of, as limited as the parking is right now, I know the city's done its best to, but is there any other plans for any areas that could be added?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, I will have to sort of punt that to Rob. I don't believe that there's a parking structure. No, parking is a focus, but Rob, can you answer that more specifically?
Chairman, I believe that is correct, that there's no specific, there's nothing outlined in here for parking garages or anything like that. The direction we were given was to focus mainly on the beautification of the area and the roadways. The way the plan sits now, I'm not sure there's any very large, basically gathering areas that are gonna necessitate, very large parking areas, up in this north area, but there are no parking garages or anything like that planned in this plan.
Well, a little bit more to speak on that, because with the development of Fifth, and it says in here, the development of Fifth is to be geared towards businesses, is that correct? So with that road being redone, in that goal, would more parking, similar to downtown, be put in place for that? Would that be planned in the future?
There definitely could be. There will still be, generally, there's still parking on the road. There's parallel parking. Typically, when businesses come in that are not in the downtown core itself, then they're required to provide their own parking on site.
Okay.
And so as to whether this falls in that category or not, I'm not exactly sure. But, we would, as we design out the road, we can still provide some street parking for residences or customers that are in those areas.
Robin, what would those businesses be zoned as, do you think, in that area?
Currently, right now, most of that area is zoned traditional neighborhood.
Right.
And a lot of, there is some manufacturing zoning mixed in there. People could apply for a rezone, but that whole section is kind of a urban neighborhood. So it's meant to be like a transitional area to your downtown. So a little bit more pedestrian oriented. But again, like Rob mentioned, we would always look at the businesses to provide parking on site somehow. And the only way they could ask for a reduction in that is they'd have to go before city council to ask for a reduction in that parking.
So to follow up, so in this plan, we're not necessarily looking at rezoning necessarily any of these areas at all, even though the goal is to encourage new businesses along Fifth, Chicago, and everything. But
No, we're not. And probably some of the reason for that is we've kind of already taken care of a lot of that in our new comprehensive plan. It used to be that our old comprehensive plan, it was one zone, one land use. Well, we've made it now where you could have multiple zoning within a future land use designation. And we did that purposely so that people wouldn't necessarily have to rezone unless there was a specific use that, say, wasn't allowed in a traditional neighborhood, like a manufacturing use, then they would have to apply for a rezone and go through that approval process.
that's all I had.
All right.
Okay, moving on to plan goal, vision for parks, for rivers, parks, and agriculture. And I don't know, Commissioner, if would help. I don't know if this pace is a appropriate pace, if you wish I was moving faster, if you wish I was moving slower. Can I get any input on that?
I think,
Okay,
yeah, we're fine.
Sounds good.
If you want to group a couple of things that relate, 'cause some of the analysis kind of overlap, you can do that as well, maybe.
okay. I'll see if there's an opportunity for that. Plan goal, sub-plan goal 1 under Vision for Rivers, Parks, and Agriculture talks about developing and maintaining parks, green belts, recreation facilities to meet the diverse needs of the growing community. You have in the project list in the packet of the plan, you can see the parks that are going to be improved, and the ways in which that plan objective will be supported. And so I believe the plan supports that plan objective for those reasons. Plan sub-goal 2, safeguard Caldwell's environmental features and natural resources. Again, this is going to be one of those things where things like making sure that development doesn't have stormwater runoff into Indian Creek, or we don't have grease flowing into storm drains, things like that, are going to be the result of city code and regulations that are apart from the plan itself. But to the extent that there is infrastructure in the area that will be improved, and the policies and standards have changed and become more stringent over time, it will help serve that objective as well. Any questions or thoughts on that one? Okay. Minimize the threat of natural hazards to people and property. I couldn't think of a specific way in which the plan dealt with that. Some parts of this are in the floodway and flood zone, but the bulk of it is not. And so, at least in my first take, was that there wasn't a specific benefit the plan conferred in relation to that particular comprehensive plan goal. But if someone else has a thought about it, I'm happy to hear it. Okay? Plan goal 4 is about creating a network of non-motorized paths and greenways to connect neighborhoods with natural features, rec sites, and service areas. Again, this is an area where sort of all three of those destinations are available, either the ponds or the creek or the businesses downtown. And certainly the improvement of the infrastructure in the area will help serve that objective. Goal number 5, recognizing agriculture as an important tradition and economic resource for Caldwell. Urban renewal plans can cover existing agricultural land. This one does not cover any. You could theoretically, if you had a plan that covered agricultural land, have specific credits and things, and a process by which you tried to preserve some of it. But the way in which this particular plan helps preserve agricultural land is by incentivizing infill development and higher density development near city centers, and focusing new homes within the city limits instead of having them sprawl. Moving on to large plan goal, vision for quality neighborhoods to call home. Goal 1, diversify housing options to accommodate varying household incomes and lifestyles and sizes, promoting inclusivity and affordability. I think a good example of the way in which the plan will help this goal is the site-specific plan that was approved earlier this year, where you had a specific creative housing plan for small sort of cottage homes that's going into the area. And so an urban renewal plan that presents the opportunities it presents can make things like that feasible, and we already have a great case study where that is actually happening. So I think the plan serves that goal for those reasons.
I do have one question on that part there, because the way that the grid was laid out, I probably should be addressing this to Rob. He would probably know more on this one. So, older part of Caldwell always had a lot of alleyways, and the improvement of those alleyways, does that fall into this as well then? For those infill developments, or is the plan such that we do not want to continue with the alleyway grid as it is now?
Thank you. That is a good question. So the alleys are existing because they generally contain utilities. Sewer lines are running through the alleys through this part of town, and so we have to preserve those. The plan does include paving of the alleys, and they kind of just give you like a block, a per block cost to be able to pave the alleys. Developments that come in do have that obligation to pave alleys because it's right away adjacent to their development. But we do have alleys included in the plan to improve and pave.
Sub-goal for vision for quality neighborhoods to call home. Number 2 is create distinct and inclusive neighborhoods that focus on high-quality design, connectivity, and livability. Again, this is very close to Caldwell's sort of central downtown core area. The improvements of the infrastructure, sidewalks, and streets will help connect this north area to that downtown area and the services and recreation available there. And for that reason, I feel like it serves that comprehensive plan goal. Concentrating development closer to the city's core, preserve a rural transition to the city's western and northern boundaries. We've already sort of covered this. It is going to hopefully incentivize infill development close to downtown and help preserve those exterior boundaries, and will certainly concentrate development closer to the city's core. Okay. Plan goal vision for intentional and distinct centers. Its sub-goal number 1 is to expand the downtown core as the heart of the city. This is sort of the same thing. It's near the downtown, near Indian Creek. It's incentivizing development there, where all those improvements have already been made and those dollars have been spent to improve that area. And we'll sort of hopefully expand the feel of that area out and make those feel very connected to each other. Establish community centers that serve Caldwell neighborhoods. Again, so much of the comprehensive plan is focused on objectives that the agency or a plan serves in an indirect way and in reliance on, unless you concocted an entirely new comprehensive plan and zoning code, then entered into an agreement with the city to impose those in the plan area. It relies on existing city frameworks for those things, and that's true for this goal as well. You've got commercial near residential. Hopefully this will revitalize some of those gateway areas where that blend of activity is occurring. Can provide funding to help with aesthetic transitions, to smooth those out in those corridor areas and the adjoining residential areas as well. And so for that reason, I think it does support or is in conformity with the plan, the comprehensive plan. Sub-goal number 3 for vision for intentional and distinct centers is to develop and enhance a variety of mixed-use centers to be unique, attractive, dynamic places to live, work, play, shop, and dine. Again, Caldwell's already in a very different position than it was in when I was growing up just outside of town in the late 90s, early 2000s. And this urban renewal plan will help to continue the improvement to the downtown area and certainly encourage that kind of infrastructure, encourage visitors to Caldwell from across the valley and things like that. So for that reason, I think it serves this particular comprehensive plan goal.
Mr. Chair, I have one question on that one.
Commissioner Gray.
I see in the plan that there's an area that's going to be a plaza. That's one of the projects. Am I correct in that, Rob? Could you kind of emphasize where that's at and what the use of that is proposed for?
Sure, just trying to see, so the plaza would be located on the corner of Denver Street and Fifth Avenue, on the north. Because of the skew of the grid, it would actually be the north corner. And the purpose of the plaza is just to have a general meeting place in that area. There's a cutout there, and this is what was proposed in the plan, that maybe they could bring food trucks in and just have like a little gathering area. They have I think some shade structures, some very small playgrounds, and maybe some other conceptual features like a little garden or things like that. And so it's really just kind of a gathering area in that part of town where there is no other place for residences to get together and gather.
On that side. So one thing that I have heard from others that have come to me is to making sure that we are talking one hand to the other, because I know Mr. Brooks has been very active in his plans for this other side of the track as well. And it's my understanding that the consultant for this plan was very well in communication with Mr. Brooks in regards to such plans as a plaza and infrastructure and whatnot. Is that your view as well?
I don't know if I'm qualified to speak to how closely they've been working together, but it is my understanding that they have had communication to some extent to try to coordinate the plan, and maybe Mr. Waterman knows more about that, but that is my understanding.
I don't have much additional information. My understanding is that Mr. Brooks attended some of the workshops and things like that, and that the Arts Nexus was in communication with him about this, about the small plan. I don't know the specifics of that communication and how detailed it is. So I don't know if I can add anything beyond what Rob has said, but I know that those two, that the two movements are aware of each other.
Okay.
And so the quality or quantity of the communication I'm not certain of, but they each know the other exists.
And in the latter part of the packet, I believe it talked about some of the initial meetings and some of the high-level overview of those conversations. Yeah,
Yeah.
page 100 plus.
That would be in the feasibility
Yes.
study.
Yes.
Correct. Thank you. Any other comments on that? If not, go ahead, Mr. Waterman.
Okay. Number 4 is enhance Caldwell's employment centers and special purpose areas to further generate economic and employment opportunities. This seemed more focused on, new commercial and industrial development, which is not a key focus of the plan. And so I didn't feel like it supported the plan in any particular way, the comprehensive plan in a particular way. Number 5 is related to the Caldwell Executive Airport. Again, they're far away from each other. You could certainly hypothesize some sort of secondary benefit, but I didn't feel like the renewal plan provided a direct benefit to that particular comprehensive plan objective.
Mr. Chair, can I just
Commissioner Gray.
have a follow-up on that
Please.
one? Mr. Waterman, on the number 4, can we go back to that for just a minute? Because it talks about enhancement of Caldwell's employment centers and special purpose areas for further economic and employment opportunities. So I'm also going to direct this maybe to Robin, because you had mentioned, Robin, that area was going to be basically for retail and general commercial. Am I right? Not in that areas around Fifth and Chicago and that areas. Am I right in that?
Chair and Commissioner Guyer, it's both. So that whole area is considered urban neighborhood. So there is going to be a mix of residential, multifamily, retail, restaurant. So it's going to be very similar to almost like an offset of the downtown, except you'll have probably more single-family residences in there that might turn into cottage industries, or maybe they stay single-family or potential for redevelopment. But it'll be similar to a downtown environment where you have a mix.
Well, and then my estimation then, it does really lend to help with some economic development then.
Yeah.
Because it enhances the area and could possibly bring more retail and mom and pop type of businesses, that makes it kind of standalone quaint, possibly, rather than central downtown. It's more of, you're right, it's more of an offset that could really speak to antiques or whatever the case may be in a select area. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Okay. I think I've made a note of that, so I'll make sure to bring it back up at the end of the discussion. Plan Goal 6 under Vision for Quality Neighborhoods to Call Home is to ensure that new development provides adequate public services and infrastructure to meet Caldwell's needs. Again, this is an infrastructure plan. The general method by which these improvements occur will be not through bonding, but through developers coming and proposing an improvement, being obliged to do the improvements on the property, around the property at the time of the development, and then having the opportunity to have those costs reimbursed out of their own tax proceeds. But the infrastructure should generally, based on the method of financing, precede the development, so that when the development occurs, the infrastructure has already been improved. So that's the end of the list. And I guess I know you had questions you wanted to make as a more general about all of them inclusively. So maybe, Mr. Chairman, now's a good time to talk.
Commissioners, Commissioner Boutros?
Is there going to be any more testimony?
Nobody has signed up, so there's no other testimony. So this is kind of the end of that, our opportunity to continue the dialogue before we close public testimony and deliberate.
I can save my comments for the Commissioners' Caucus.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Remember, our charge tonight is exclusively to review this urban renewal plan for conformity with the comprehensive plan. So that's what we're analyzing today. Any other questions or comments for staff or Mr. Waterman?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
If I
Director
may,
Collins?
if I may just add, when looking at conformity with the comprehensive plan, please keep in mind that an urban renewal plan, just like any project, is not, they do not have to meet every single goal and sub-goal in the plan. The intent is that it's not doing the opposite of one of the goals, but that it is meeting the intent of the plan as a whole. So just keep that in mind, that on the ones where there's no impact or they don't meet that goal, that doesn't mean it's not in conformance with the plan.
Thank you for that point. All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to close public testimony.
So moved.
I heard several. I think I
Second.
heard- Okay. We had a motion and a second. All those or any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, public testimony is closed. Now it's time for us as commission to deliberate on the question before us.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could do my thing. Okay. In section 401 of the plan, it says, as specified in this plan, the agency is authorized to acquire by purchase, lease, option, gift, grant, bequest, device, eminent domain, or otherwise any real property or personal property for its administrative purposes. This plan gives the agency authority over private property without apparent oversight or property owner recourse. And I'm going to tie this to conformance in just a moment. Section 402.2 describes how the agency would relocate persons and businesses displaced by the project. In summary, the plan authorizes the agency to act as its own government, taking and disposing of private property as it sees fit. Since the plan largely describes street and infrastructure improvement, there's no reason to give the agency the greater authority it seeks under this plan. Further, Section 1000 allows the agency to increase the revenue allocation area without constituting a modification to the plan. This can have severe effects on the general tax revenue to the city without adequate oversight of the agency. So if we know what the revenue allocation area is, it's that outlined area. It's where the property taxes are diverted to the use of the urban renewal area. Okay. In the package that was given out, there is a document from Zion's Bank, and it states that the anticipated base value is 234 million, blah, 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 but assumes the property values within the urban renewal area will rise fast enough to support the planned development. If this succeeds, it will price homeowners out of their homes, and if it fails, the project might not be completed. So, specific comments about the analysis, and then I'll describe why I think it's problematic. The plan attempts to take credit for meeting the vision for a connected community by stating the street improvements in the plan justify claiming to meet this goal. This is weak at best, and other claims for meeting goals are even weaker. And Mr. Waterman, I appreciate your straightforward approach to presenting that material, because what you said reinforces what I read in the document. I pulled another example. The plan states the goal to protect the function of arterial corridors, and the analysis states that the central plan aligns with this comprehensive plan goal to the extent that it relies on the street planning already in place in the city of Caldwell. That's kind of bootstrapping that somehow the plan meets it by not having anything to do with it, not having contributed to it, by it being a feature that the city already has. The analysis is substantially similar to the analysis provided for the previous urban renewal area that was recommended for denial by the Planning and Zoning Commission for failure to comply with the comprehensive plan. Tying it together, because the plan has weak justification for supporting the comprehensive plan and transfers a great deal of unnecessary authority to the agency, I believe this urban renewal area should be recommended for denial by the city council. So I waited and got it all out in one chunk there.
Thank you, Commissioner Boutros. Other discussion for commissioners?
Well, I would like to
Commissioner
discuss, Chair, I would like to discuss about the infrastructure. Mr. Boutros talked on it. Again, I think we've all recognized, and Commissioner Guyer brought it up too, that I agree that the infrastructure as is will not support any growth as it comes forward. So that's, I understand, Rob, that we still don't have plans yet. And I'm hoping that in this budget, with this urban renewal, those kind of things are taken into account over and above, because they will have to grow. So I hope that is in their plan for it.
Is that, we have closed public testimony, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. That's my concern on that one.
If we need to, we can open it back up in a moment, but let's see if there's other commentary. Commissioner Guyer, are you gonna, oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I just was around when they had a downtown that needed to be improved. And yes, urban renewal was the train that got that started. Everything went through council though. There isn't any blindsided. There wasn't anything done behind a screen. Everything that was accomplished to the downtown with the Indian Creek daylighting project as well as the plaza was very transparent. There was public hearings, more than sufficient, so that everybody knew. And as far as them being able to purchase property, thank goodness they were able to do that, because that's what you have now with Winter Wonderland. It has been an economic benefit as well as a beautification to the city as a whole. Would there have been funds otherwise? No. Will there be funds otherwise for this area for improvement? No. There's a general budget amount that is designated for street improvement infrastructure throughout the whole city, but not to a designated area. This is a revenue source that is specific to this area, which I think is a benefit to that. Anytime you have a plan, you have to have a funding source, and this is the funding source. Idaho works that way. We don't have a lot of other alternatives in order for tax base initiatives. This is the source, and that's what legislatures put it into action for that very reason. Do I think it is probably going to change as it goes? Every urban renewal plan that I have seen come through, yes, there has been some movement to that. But the bottom line is, this is the area, this is the improvement, this is what we see the vision, and it's come to flourishing. That's happened out there at Sky Ranch. What a difference that area has made through urban renewal funding. the downtown another one, of course, and there's specific ones now that we have that's been put into place. All of it's to the benefit of the city as a whole. But it is a funding source that I think if we don't have this, what will happen to this area north of the tracks? It will probably remain as it is for how many years, we don't know. But has there been any change throughout? Well, I've lived here, my folks have lived here since '65. Has there been change? Yes. It's deteriorated in that period from when we moved here, because at that point, Fifth Avenue had a corridor to the freeway. And it was basically a gateway. Not now. Now there has been probably a lot of deterioration, and that's what is the basis of urban renewal. They have to determine that to start with. You know that. And we see that happening. This is something that would actually assist not just those residents, but the city as a whole.
Sure. And I appreciate that. I want to just follow up on a couple comments that you made. I think one of the points that I heard initially was this idea of oversight. I think it's important. I think you bring that, make a good point, Commissioner Guyer, is the urban renewal runs in public meetings. Part of the Urban Renewal Commission include city council members from City of Caldwell, county commissioners. So these aren't individuals that are making decisions arbitrarily, or certainly not without the perspective of the city and the city council. And so I do, when we think about oversight, we also need to recognize the composition of the urban renewal agency in that, and recognizing that our council, our elected members, our elected officials, both at the city and county level, are represented on that commission. And I agree. I think this is a revenue source for an area that butts up against a beautiful part of our city that it's completely ignored, and it continue to augment the beautification and the positive outcomes that have occurred as a result of urban renewal in downtown Caldwell.
So if I can respond to both of those points. With regard to finances, 90% of what is collected is reimbursable to developers when their part of the development is considered part of the infrastructure improvement. So it's doled out piece by piece. It's not something that, I would feel a lot more comfortable if that money went straight into city engineering or the streets, so that they are planning and implementing those improvements directly. But that's not the way the Urban Renewal District works. The plan doesn't describe the authority as Commissioner Guyer and you have described it. The way you're describing it is transparent, is appropriate, but the plan doesn't contain that language, and we need to be cautious about that.
If I could get some clarification on that, if I could, Mr. Chair. Mr. Waterman, does the state statute with urban renewal put some guidelines in there that could possibly address Mr. Boudreaux's concerns?
Do we need a public testimony, or is it just a point of order, point of clarification? I just want some guidance from staff.
Sarah saying no. I don't think so. Sarah's saying we can just continue with the question.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to give, I guess, I'm here tonight as a representative of the agency, so I don't want to give the city legal advice on how to conduct the meeting and blur that line. So anyway, the Idaho code that governs urban renewal agencies, as to the makeup of them and their meetings, I don't think that's changed since its inception. There might have been minor tweaks, but all the agency meetings have to be in public. The agency has certain authority that it can exercise without direct city council input, like an expenditure of funds for a project improvement, entering into a tax increment reimbursement financing agreement. And there are things it can't do, like it can't modify streetscapes or change landscaping requirements or sidewalk requirements and things like that. I wasn't here or at the city back when I came right at the tail end of the plan that incorporated the plaza, and helped actually wind that one down. And every single step of all of that occurs in a public meeting. So I don't know what the specific question is exactly, but the city council can't abrogate the Idaho code by granting, if the city council in the plan granted the agency the authority to meet in secret, it would be devoid of consequence because it doesn't have that authority in the same way that they couldn't grant the agency the authority to exceed the posted speed limit by 20 miles per hour. It just isn't within its purview to do that, so.
I don't think that there was necessarily an implication that secret meetings would occur, but rather that the authority to do things like take private property exists under this plan. And so whether that's done in a public hearing or not, the fact that they have the authority to do that creates a lot of difficulty for private property owners who may not want to cooperate with that. That's
So-
all.
But I believe they're still bound by due process. It's not just, okay, let's take their property and end of discussion. It's got to
Read
go
the
through a
plan.
process.
If
I
you-
realize
if
you can read
the
it that
plan,
way.
it looks like they have the authority to do that.
They have the authority to do that with due process.
In black and white, but at the same time, and just like we talked about the urban renewal for downtown Caldwell, I was part of that whole thing. I went to all those meetings, everything. Yes, Caldwell at that time was dilapidated, but yes, Mr. Commissioner Boutros is right. There was a lot of fears. Lawyers were called because eminent domain and other things like that were called out. Now, it takes a lot of legal precedent to do that. There's a lot of negotiation that goes into that. And Commissioner Boutros is also right on another thing. If you count right now, there's about 7, to my knowledge, of the existing businesses that are in downtown Caldwell they're still here after this change. So this is a big change. And I'm looking at page 110 right now, one of the biggest issues that are worries that the community of this area has is affordable housing, available housing, and other things like that. And like Mr. Boutros pointed out, the taxes will most likely increase. And that is going to make significant changes to the people that are currently in this area who are, as they even see right here, struggling. So let's not be blind to that fact that yes, by improving this area, you are going to change the demographic and the taxes of it. And it did the same thing with the downtown Caldwell. I know, I had 2 buildings down here. I sold both of them because I didn't belong here. So.
Other comments from commissioners? Hearing none, I think I would entertain a motion if somebody's ready to make a motion.
I can certainly do one
Commissioner Boutros.
to deny it. Based upon the testimony and evidence in record in this matter, and upon the findings of fact and conclusions of law set forth herein, I do hereby determine and move that the request for a recommendation on whether the urban renewal plan is in conformity with the comprehensive plan of the city of Caldwell is recommended for denial because it is not in conformance with the comprehensive plan.
That was a motion from Commissioner Boutros. Is there a second? Hearing no second, that motion dies, and I would entertain another motion, if there's one to be made. Commissioner
I'm going
Guyer.
to make my motion. Based on the comprehensive plan analysis and review of the proposed Site B, well, it says Site B, urban renewal. Is that incorrect? Yeah, that's incorrect. Yeah, it should be central. Let's correct that. Central Urban Renewal Area Plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission hereby recommends to the mayor and city council the following. And there are 2 points that I'd like to bring out in this as far as recommendations for change. The first one had to deal with the regional pathway, which I think was directed with maybe some improvements with the irrigation. Am I correct in that? Is that the right area, Mr. Waterman, that we thought that that should be placed in there in cooperation with existing irrigation companies and infrastructure with irrigation lines?
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yep.
I think that one likely serves a number of purposes. Looking at the general categories, I think it makes sense in the vision for quality neighborhoods to call home, that it would
Okay,
fall
so
in line
that's
with
number
that.
4, so it's where we could put that one.
Yep.
And then my second one that I would like to see included is dealing with the enhancement of employment and economic development as to more of the retail in those areas possibly, or commercial. And you called it neighborhood, am I right? Urban, okay.
Neighborhood.
Urban neighborhood. So that would be a factor that would bring economic enhancement to those areas, if we could include that as well, Mr. Waterman. Okay, and with those two changes then, I believe that the foregoing analysis, review, and recommendation conducted by the Planning and Zoning Commission today, November the 11th, should be administratively approved and signed by the Planning and Zoning Commission Chairman, as noted in my comments.
There is a motion made by Commissioner Guyer. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard a second from Commissioner Whitbeck. Roll call, please.
Guyer,
Yes.
Whitbeck,
Yes.
Boutros,
No.
Vance,
Yes.
Zamora.
Yes. So with that, motion carries, and then we'll close this hearing and move to adjournment. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
And,
Commissioner Whitbeck,
a second.
second for Commissioner Vance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.